The Wolf King, Joseph Wharton Lippincott. Copyright 1933. Preface. Big timber wolves were a common sight to explorers and early settlers in North America. At first they were found almost everywhere. Then gradually guns, traps, and poison lessened their numbers until there were none left in the United States from Maine to Florida, and as west as far as the Badlands and desert areas. There, however, they made a last wonderful stand, and by that time so few of them were left that they became as well known locally as some of the old sea pirates in history. They even were given names by the ranchers. Any man lucky enough to trap or shoot one of these famous outlaws secured a bounty and became a hero overnight. For there was not a big wolf that could exist without feeding on the rancher's cattle and sheep, which had taken the place of the once plentiful natural prey, such as buffalo and antelope. The coyote, America's smaller species of wolf, somehow managed to survive here and there, and even to thrive in wilder sections of the West. He had never mixed with the timber wolves, but often had followed them and stolen remnants of their kills. Years ago, the wolves were not afraid to make all the noise they wanted to at night. The timber wolf had several kinds of excellent howls, but the coyote, in the matter of variety, could out-howl him any time, and make a timid camper's hair fairly tingle. The great wolf choruses, however, are almost a thing of the past. In the days gone by, a pack of the big fellows might suddenly feel the urge to howl. They would draw close together and all start a wild clamor, where the echoes increased until the air fairly throbbed. Coyotes sometimes joined in from a safe distance. Now it is very different. Only in a few wilderness sections of Canada and Alaska, and occasionally in some mountain fastness of New Mexico or one of the western states, are big wolves heard today. And those old fellows that remain know a thing or two. Some are black, some dark or light gray, others brown. All are powerful. Many in the north weigh over 150 pounds, which means that they are about the size of Great Danes. On the buffalo plains long ago, the Indians sometimes caught wolves in cleverly hidden pits dug in the paths they had traveled, but as a rule the Indian had respect and no particularly unfriendly feeling for his gray brother. The terrible tales about the ferocity of wolves which gave rise to the Little Red Riding Hood story had their origin in northern Europe, particularly in old Russia, where starvation and severe winters sometimes drove ravenous packs to the edge of villages. What cattle there were being then securely housed, the wolves attacked the horses that drew the sleighs. In the chases that resulted, they even threatened the drivers, who seldom had better weapons than whips and axes. The Eskimos had dogs that seemed to be little more than partly tamed timber wolves. These they somehow trained to draw their sleds over the snow and to help them in hunting. Just where they secured the first stock is not known, but they did raise and tame wild wolf pups, and their dogs would mate with wild wolves. Today these animals are represented by the Eskimo dog or husky, which is a handsome but still somewhat wolfish animal, although it has been much interbred with dogs brought by the white man. In the same way, certain Indian tribes living on the plains where there were many coyotes and no heavy sled work developed a breed of smaller dogs that looked very much like the wild coyote. It is probable that the ancestors of all breeds of dogs were wolves and jackals in various parts of the world, although it took many generations to make such odd types as the bulldog and the Pekingese. The timber wolf, accustomed as he is to having his own way in the wilderness, will not tolerate much training or punishment when tamed. Therefore, the dog's servility must come mostly from jackal and coyote ancestry. The jackal in particular is a humble creature that follows the lion or other big killer and gnaws the bones he leaves. The fox, though a member of the dog family, does not seem to have had any part in the development of our dogs. That the timber wolf can be tamed has often been proved, but he should be started as a youngster. Then he will be playful like a puppy, but a very lively one, who every now and then may take a bite out of a cow or chew up some neighbor's dog. If raised with a dog, he becomes his close friend, even taking his part against others in any row, and when a wolf fights, he means business. When about 2 years of age, he is liable to grow so dignified that he resents any act which appears to him to be hostile or to injure his pride. A serious thing sometimes, for a tame wolf never seems to forget a grudge. One that is full grown is much too strong to be easily managed, and if he really goes bad, is for the moment again for a wild animal, striking him cannot cow his spirit. Bristling all over in sudden fury, chomping his great white teeth together until foaming at the mouth, then leaping at you with a blood-curdling roar, while his eyes flash the death gleam into yours, he is terrible to view. However, it is not surprising that he may sometimes forget a year or two of domestication, and suddenly go back to the wild methods of countless ages of life in the forests and plains. Some of the largest wolves left today are found in Alberta's great mountain forests. They grow to twice the size of the greys that once followed the buffaloes in the west, and though there are not very many of them now, these few are wary almost beyond belief. Unlike their relatives of the plains, who had to take up the killing of tame cattle as soon as the buffalo herds vanished, these wolves actually still live and hunt in very much the same thrilling manner as before the coming of the pioneers. It is possible that here will be the American wolf's final stand against man. Therefore, it was in western Alberta, still a wilderness and game paradise, that a wolf leader was found around whom a fairly complete story could be written. Not a work of mere fiction, but a painstaking account of what might well have been the adventures and career of a mighty wolf who understood how to elude man, and whose great passion was leadership. His size has not been overdrawn. Even the affair of the dog that deserted mankind and joined the wolves was inspired by an actual instance of this kind. Joseph Wharton Lippincott.